This week's Torah portion finds us in a very dark chapter. Nadab and Abihu, sons of Aaron, the high priest, trained in the proper rules of ritual sacrifice, instead come before God offering an Eish Zarah, an alien fire, which they were not authorized to do. In response, God immediately immolates them. Now, if you come to see our B'nai Mitzvah services tomorrow, you will hear astute 13-year-olds assert that God's punishment does not seem to fit the crime. And most rabbinic commentaries over the centuries would agree. So by way of explanation, they ascribe the worst motives to Nadab and Abihu. One midrash explains they were overly ambitious, trying to usurp their father's high priest role. Sforno said they acted out of extreme arrogance and lack of respect for God. Rashi cites evidence that they may have been drunk. But some rabbis were willing to give Nadab and Abihu the benefit of the doubt. The Rambam said they just fell prey to over-enthusiasm. They desired too much to be near to God, and this Eish Zarah was an offering of extreme passion. Nevertheless, even with the best intentions, Ramban said it was a flame that could not be contained, and it ultimately consumed them. Eish Zarah stands in stark contrast to the Eish Tamid, the eternal fire, described in last week's Torah portion. The fire the priests are instructed to keep burning at the altar at all times. The Eish Tamid is the foundation of divine service. Without constant vigilance to keep that flame alit, our work in the temple would be impossible. Now, I see a parallel to this modern moment. One of our most sacred, secular temples today is the university, our temple of learning. And the Eish Tamid, the eternal fire that has sustained its mission, has been vigilance to core principles of academic freedom, protection of free speech, the absolute pursuit of truth. In recent years, many Americans, be it on the right or the left, feel that some of these values have been compromised. There has been a precipitous decline in trust in higher education. Gallup polls show that 10 years ago, 57% of Americans had high confidence in universities. Today, that number has dropped to just 36%. Decline in trust is most extreme among Republicans, whose confidence dropped from 56% 10 years ago, virtually the same as all Americans, to just 20% today. Stated reasons for the decline includes skyrocketing costs of tuition, lack of access, and misplaced educational focus. But the main driver cited for the loss of trust is the perception of political bias. And it's not just perception. A 2023 Harvard Crimson survey of faculty showed that less than 3% identified as conservatives. A 2024 Buckley Institute survey at Yale showed that 3% of the faculty was registered as Republicans, 77% registered as Democrats. Now, this imbalance of political perspectives on campuses is not new, but the belief that this disparity has led to harmful ideological capture is. In the past, these temples of learning have been safeguarded by tending their eternal fire, by doggedly protecting free speech, academic inquiry, and pursuit of truth. But we've seen some universities compromise these values, introducing an Eish Zarah, an alien fire, prohibiting certain texts or speech to create safe spaces, canceling speakers to limit exposure to offensive ideas, changing standards to ensure more equitable outcomes. Even when ascribing the best of intentions, we have seen the danger and the overreach of this alien fire in higher education. Universities must commit to their Eish Tamid, the liberal and democratic principles that have made universities exceptional engines of American progress and growth and created the conditions for the most vibrant, flourishing, and safe Jewish community in the history of the Jewish diaspora. But since October 7th, more and more Jews are questioning if our community still feels safe. And in particular, if it's still safe to be Jewish on college campuses. And in the past 18 months, universities have certainly witnessed an eruption of anti-Semitic ugliness, harassment, intimidation, ostracization, canceling, sometimes even violence. We saw university presidents too slow to respond, many unable to offer simple condemnations of calls for genocide. In the face of this, some in our community breathed a sigh of relief or even celebrated the recent executive orders aimed at universities such as Columbia, Harvard, Cornell, Northwestern, terminating billions of dollars of federal grants on the grounds that these universities failed to address anti-Semitism on their campuses. Some of you may believe the government's motivation behind these executive orders is entirely cynical and opportunistic. Some of you may believe the government is entirely sincere, and some of you may see it somewhere in the middle. But regardless of motivation, I fear these executive orders are an Eish Zara, an alien fire that has been unleashed by our government, one which will ultimately burn the Jewish community, not protect us. At Columbia, for example, the termination of $400 million in grants was explicitly tied to Columbia's, quote, inaction in the face of persistent harassment of Jewish students. But the cutting of these grants does not directly fight anti-Semitism. Instead, almost all of these cuts were to medical research and training. Our past president, Dr. Shani Silverberg, explained that in her department alone, over 130 grants were terminated, including funding of the Cancer Center and a 15-year-long diabetes prevention program. Additionally, all NIH postdoctoral fellowship training grants have been terminated. The training of all subspecialists, endocrinologists, cardiologists, oncologists, stopped dead. This is not how we protect Jews. When we see undercover ICE agents snatch pro-Palestinian protesters from their campuses, you may feel, finally, someone is standing up for us. But when America starts deporting people for protected speech, however ugly, without any due process, this is not how we protect Jews. When the government threatens to withhold hundreds of millions of dollars of funding unless they are able to oversee a school's curriculum, as they are trying to do at Harvard, we may cheer some of the demanded reforms. But this government control is a breach of academic freedom, and this is not how we protect Jews. While it may be that an Eish Zara, an alien fire of ideological capture, contributed to a culture that harbored, excused, and maybe even stoked Jewish hatred, we don't fight alien fire with more alien fire. It is a flame that cannot be contained. We must uphold instead the Eish Tamid, the traditional values that have actually protected Jews for generations: freedom of speech, due process, academic freedom. I know free speech is hard to defend when the ideas expressed are hateful to us or toward us. And there should be consequences, of course, for inciting violence or harassing or excluding Jews on any campus. But upholding basic principles of liberty have safeguarded us for centuries and made universities an engine for learning, innovation, scientific discovery, and propelling the American dream. The Eish Tamid, like democracy, is not just a concept. It is a live flame. It requires constant feeding. It requires every one of us. Keeping it burning cannot just be the work of leaders or universities. It needs all of you. We must tend the Eish Tamid, the eternal fire, because those bedrock values, even if we sometimes feel like it is not just for us in that moment, they help us do a greater good. They give us an ability to live according to higher principles of democracy, fairness, opportunity, and justice, not just for ourselves or our family or our community of faith, but for all citizens, indeed, for all humanity.